You've got all these artists who want to get their music in front of the labels that they love. You've got labels who get way too much volume of music. The demo submission process outside of LabelRadar is very brutal, right?
You guys had a great idea that was pretty much what the end result turned out to be.
We turned something that was drudgery into something that's this whole playground.
Our favorite thing to talk about is just all the success stories that have come in across the last 5 years. Scores is a personal favorite. He got signed to Armind. He's now doing like full-time touring.
Our goal is to ultimately have the music industry not be about who you know, and if you can take that off the table and your production's good, the relationship shouldn't be the barrier for you to make progress.
Hey guys, welcome to Music Business Sounds. I'm so happy to have you guys here, Ed and Derek from LabelRadar. I'm super excited to talk about your project, LabelRadar, talk about where you guys came from and how you built this company from scratch. So if you guys want to start, for anyone that doesn't know, talk about what LabelRadar is and kind of what your role in the company is as well.
So we're a platform that connects artists and record labels. You imagine hundreds of thousands of labels, you're an artist, you have your music. How do you begin to make sense of what labels are active currently that are looking for artists in my genre, of about my size, and just we help artists really take that first step, and along with helping labels, find artists that are the right fit.
I was just going to say the roles side of things is quite a fun one because, we're both co-founders and co-CEOs. So it's kind of like you wear so many hats. Nowadays, we obviously have different titles now that we're part of the Beatport group. So mine is Director of Business Development for Music Services.
Yeah, and mine's Director of Product Management. So focusing on product roadmap, speaking with customers.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you guys mentioned like the co-founders, co-CEOs, and how you wear many hats, because I want to ask you later some questions about like how it is to be an entrepreneur and how you started and all of that. So let's take a quick trip down memory lane and talk about the origin of LabelRadar.
I think it was kind of a shared vision in terms of we saw how fragmented the landscape was from different ends of the spectrum and from different user roles. You've got all these artists who want to get their music in front of the labels that they love and the labels that they listen to. And then you've got labels who either just get way too much volume of music to be able to get through it in a meaningful way over email, for example, as it was at the time, let alone actually respond to artists and let them know that they've listened and what the outcome of that listen was. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got all of these labels that want greater access to emerging artist talent, but don't necessarily have the profile to attract that talent and be on their radar, so to speak.
Were you guys also artists when you began the whole process?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Raw Frequency and Some Hero.
What kind of music did you guys make?
Dubstep, yeah, and drum and bass for you, Ed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like dramatic film score that then went into kind of dubstep and drum and bass.
Me and Ed actually met because at the time he did a compilation album for charity, Everyday Matters, and I was doing a similar project while I was in university. So then we had somebody introduce us, and he had worked for Monster Cat. They were getting thousands of emails a week, completely unsustainable. And on my side, I was small label, 100 DMs a day, trying to find artists to fill a roster, to do these charity EPs. And we really bonded over this problem where, small labels couldn't fill their roster, bigger labels couldn't manage the community and the volume, missing hidden gems. And then from the artist side, we both felt the weight of just how difficult it is to approach the industry. And we became like great friends through that.
And when you guys started, were you guys like the only company that was trying to tackle this problem? Did you have any competition? And how were you guys trying to be different?
I guess the main one that comes to mind is Submit Hub, right? They've been in the space for a while doing similar things, but with a very different proposition. A lot of the partners that adopted LabelRadar also used Submit Hub because it's kind of like two different solutions and two different use cases.
We're less focused on feedback and we're more focused on speed of access. We're so much focused on finding the right labels as fast as possible and get really good at matching, along with transparency of anytime your demo is interacted with, you're updated in real time. We sort of took the the efficiency approach over feedback, which can still be left, but it's less of like the focus of the model and it's more of the speed.
And it's also the kind of alignment of incentives approach is slightly different. On LabelRadar, the incentive that we're honing in on is your desire to discover exciting new artist talent and connect the dots with emerging talent, whereas the use case on SubmitHub is more financially motivated. Our approach was very much like we want people to be using the platform for the outcome of discovering new talent rather than to earn a bit of money by just powering through some submissions.
I like that you mentioned money, because my next question was like, how did you guys plan to monetize like LabelRadar in the beginning? And then was that actually the way that it ended up being monetized?
A good analogy we always try to use is either, LinkedIn or dating apps, in that you can use these platforms for free. But if you want to get that next level of participation in the ecosystem in terms of the next levels of benefits and features, we sort of have a similar model where we have LabelRadar Pro, which gets you a lot more sort of features unlocked. Like you can update track versions. So if you come up with a new version of your track 6 months later, you can update it. And then any conversation you have, they all update real time. You can see views to your actual profile itself, which is discoverable outside of your submissions. Your submissions rank to the top, so you get faster response times, and you can upload more beyond the free threshold monthly.
It proved that it was fitting, the market in the way that we hoped it would. It wasn't a perfect fit by a long stretch, but it proved the assumptions enough that we knew if we kept building and iterating on that model, we could get to, the best product market fit possible.
That's sort of smart, and it's good because a lot of companies fail in the beginning and have to pivot so much. And it's cool to see that you guys had a great idea that was pretty much what in the end result turned out to be. You guys obviously have had a lot of success, but I want to talk about some of the challenges kind of like starting. So the first thing I would like to discuss is, a lot of companies focus on like a very small niche, like one profile that they're really trying to like sell to. But you guys have obviously two, right? You guys are appealing to the labels and you guys are appealing to the artists, which are very different people with different interests. Like, how did you guys manage that?
I think, first of all, if we make the submission review process as optimized as possible for the label, that is acting in the best interest of the artist as well, because their primary goal is to get heard and to understand what the outcome of that listen was. So for example, the A&R isn't going to sit there and listen through your full track start to finish. They're just going to click a random point on your waveform and they will listen for a couple of seconds. Like, it's super, super brutal. The demo submission process outside of LabelRadar is very brutal, right? When it comes to things like having the 20-second clip of the track. So the full song is still there, but it just means that the artist is in control of the first impression.
I think it was the founder of Reddit, Alexis Ohanian, that said, just give a damn, speak to your users and actually get that constant feedback and have conversations. And that's the only way you're ever going to get there and find that right balance. We turned something that was a really it was drudgery into something that's this whole playground.
And I wanted to ask you guys, because you guys obviously you have pretty big labels, independent labels in your platform, including especially in electronic music, like Armada, like one of the world leading labels in electronic music. I'm assuming before you guys came into talking to these labels, they had their own systems, and I'm assuming it wasn't that easy for them to just completely switch over to you guys. So how was that process of trying to get labels to come to you and convincing them, and the growth to keep getting bigger and better labels?
I think initially it was hard because we were unproven, right? We'd initially done a lot of the platform building with Monstercat hand in hand to kind of sense check it all with a label partner. So that meant that we knew straight away we had one of the icons of our industry on board, and we could then leverage that to get through the door with some others. And then it kind of snowballs from there, where you get that bit of industry proofing where it's like, oh, okay, so if it's good enough for Monstercat and it's solving their problems here, it will probably work for us too. For example, with Armada, we would do some extra things like, okay, how could the product be a perfect fit for your workflow? And then we would look to assign some extra developer resource to make adjustments where we needed to, because they're such a key partner for us.
One of the things we really wanted to get right when designing the system is like making sure that when the artist enters the platform, they're building meaningful relationships that can add value. So we only accept like 10-20% of labels, and we've never spent $1 of marketing. it's because it's a little more selective on the label side, so then artists have a better experience.
Exclusivity right now is key. People love stuff that is exclusive. So if they know that the labels in your platform are exclusive and it's hard to get in, it's like, oh, now they're more interested. I was wondering, since you guys are in different time zones, did you guys build a company completely remotely, or were you in the same city when you built the company?
The 4 co-founders are all in a different country. So there's Ed in the UK, myself in the US. We had Juan in Argentina, and then his brother Seba in Spain.
Wow.
Both developers as brothers, just to give you a sense too. And then we have support in Colombia, social media support in Brazil, and development in Argentina as well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we've been remote. We met up one time before the Beatport acquisition in the entire 5 years.
And did you face any like big challenges because of that, like communication wise, culture wise, time wise?
It can be challenging because it's such an emotional journey when you're doing a startup. The odds you're facing are just seemingly insurmountable, like that you're actually gonna survive, never mind like thrive. So like to go on that journey purely remotely can be challenging, like just to get that beer after work or something. But I think we maximized it, and it is a testament, I think, to our relationship across all 4 of us, and just the trust we had that people are, putting in the work.
I want to talk about the Beatport. I want to go obviously huge for you guys. So how do you guys get in touch with Beatport for them to invest in you, and how has it shaped the company or redefined any of your workflow?
We initially started working with them on the remix contest side of the business. They wanted to use us to power some of their contests. So I think it was the first one we did, the Tiesto one, or was there one before that?
I think that was the first one.
Yeah, so we kicked off in style with Tiesto.
Good remix to start with.
That's it, straight in at the deep end. That just kind of set a really good foundation for us working together. Like, contests were a big success. The winners did really well. Their remixes went on to perform really well. And there was just this really good energy between ourselves and the Beatport employees that we were dealing with, to the point that it kind of felt very natural. And then when we did start to think about routes for the company, they were front and center of our mind because of the great rapport that we already had with them, and obviously the kind of strategic elements that align so perfectly between the brands.
What's great is that there's so much further ahead than we were on our journey, and it was really a big decision to make, but we decided to go forward with maximizing our impact. And Beatport has the entire network there, so just the scale of what we can do and the connections we can have.
They've literally got the map of electronic music labels.
For sure. Now that you have unlocked that potential, what's the future for Beatport? Like, what's the vision moving forward?
Yeah, there's a lot of different angles to play with there. We have 156,000 artists in our community. We're really obsessed with the idea of building that sense of community and really opening up artists to each other to solve problems like collaboration, because it can be an isolating journey when you're dealing with rejection. We have an app for fans where they scout unreleased music. We're excited about the potential there and to really invest into the fan experience. Yeah, a lot of other exciting things happening in the industry, like AI, and without getting into
my next question was exactly about that. So my next question was exactly about AI. So let me just jump in and maybe Ed, you can talk about this, but how is LabelRadar like looking at new technology and adapting?
The role AI can really be interesting with, from our perspective, is enhancing the core nature of what we do in terms of fostering connections between artists and labels with more accuracy, and doing that at a scale than would currently be possible.
Yeah, we'll be able to go so deep on just making those connections make as much sense as possible. Really personalized between the label and the artist based on the very sound that they both have, along with, a million other variables that just weren't possible before, to really go deep on catalogs, on music, and just make matches.
To kind of close, I wanted to close the episode. I wanted to talk about a success story that is actually no other than myself. So I wanted to tell the audience and tell you guys that I currently host the podcast for Blanco Negro, but the way I got in touch with Blanco Negro was through LabelRadar. I submitted 2 songs to LabelRadar and I got signed through there. And then after that, connections happened. It led to a beautiful relationship. When we decided to make this podcast, I wanted to talk to you guys because it's a platform that means a lot to me. And I know a lot of artists have similar stories.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
It's probably our favorite thing to talk about, is just all the success stories that have come in across the last 5 years. Scores is a personal favorite, where he got signed to Armind. The reason his one is so great is it was kind of one of his first releases as an artist. Also, he's now doing like full-time touring, hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners. It's amazing that we were able to play a part in getting it on the world stage kind of thing.
Yeah, our goal is to ultimately have the music industry not necessarily be about who you know. And if you can take that off the table and your production's good, the relationships shouldn't be the barrier for you to make progress. And we're happy to continue the journey and to have an impact on making it more accessible for everybody.
And to finish, we ask every guest, who do you think we should interview next? Any other companies that you guys like? Any person you guys would recommend that we talk to?
Beatport, so they're combating streaming fraud. Shout out to Andrew Beatty. He would be a good chat for sure.
We love Andrew.
So we'll make sure to reach out. Thank you so much for coming, guys. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm excited to just keep watching you guys do your thing and succeed and be relevant as much as you can.
Thank you so much.
Thank
it was
you.
great to hear your story.
Yeah, exactly. Love hearing your story.